Greetings everyone! I recently had the chance to explore Oblivion Remastered, a title that arrived with remarkably little fanfare, a quiet yet significant revival of a beloved classic that caught me completely by surprise. My brother casually brought it up in conversation, and before I knew it, I'd installed the game and was diving headfirst into the world of Tamriel. I never played the original Oblivion, so I approached this remaster as a completely new experience. As someone who thoroughly enjoyed Skyrim and has spent countless hours wandering its snow-covered peaks and dragon-infested ruins, I was excited to see how this earlier entry held up, particularly with modern enhancements applied. The game begins in a now iconic fashion. Your character, imprisoned for reasons that are never explained, sits alone in a cold stone cell. The ambiguity of this setup immediately drew me in. It creates a narrative vacuum of space where the player's imagination can fill in the gaps and immerse themselves even more deeply. Before long, the Emperor of Tamriel himself appears, accompanied by a retinue of loyal guards. He speaks in cryptic riddles about fate, destiny, and the end of his bloodline. And then, just as abruptly, he's assassinated in front of you.
Find him and close shut the jaws of Oblivion.
What is it? Oh! And with his dying breath, he entrusts you with an amulet and a mission to find his last remaining heir. And thus begins a story that spans political intrigue, apocalyptic prophecy, and ancient Daedric forces. And yet, like any good open-world RPG, I immediately ignored all of that. Instead, I wandered through the countryside, stumbled into a guild hall, and became singularly obsessed with earning letters of recommendation to join the Arcane University. That's right. While the world teeters on the brink of oblivion, I'm traveling across the land, collecting minor magical favors to get accepted into wizarding school. Currently, I put the main quest entirely on hold to help a paranoid hermit spy on a local town's residents. It's weird, specific, and oddly captivating. This unexpected detour perfectly illustrates the charm and depth that this game has to offer. Alright, let's explore the facets of this remaster in more detail. What are its strengths? Where does it stumble? And how does it stack up to modern RPG standards? The graphical improvements in Oblivion Remastered are a clear and welcome upgrade. Everything from lighting to textures looks sharper and more detailed, making the world feel more alive and immersive. It's a noticeable leap from the original, especially in how the forests and towns come to life. The variety in voice acting is also a breath of fresh air. One of my critiques of Skyrim, and I believe this was also a critique of the original, was the limited voice actor pool. Hearing the same few voices repeated across dozens of characters, Oblivion Remastered expands the vocal palette, creating a richer and more believable world.
He saw something in you, trusted you. They say it's the dragon blood that flows through the veins of every septim. They see more than lesser men.
What? You gave him the book? What were you thinking? And all right, we can deal with this. You're in the guild, aren't you? You should be able to walk. Bring it to me once you have it.
Ah, you came. You're sure you weren't followed? Good. I thought I could trust you. Nobody else in town. They're all in on it. All watching me.
Greetings. How may I help you? Are you perhaps interested in joining the Fighters Guild?
The sound design stands out as particularly strong. From the haunting echoes of forgotten ruins to the immersive clang of swords during combat, every audio element is carefully curated to support the tone and mood of each scene. The skill-based leveling system feels intuitive and rewarding as well. Every action contributes to growth in that specific area. Casting spells improves your magical ability, sneaking enhances stealth, and running builds athleticism. It encourages you to play the way you want without forcing arbitrary constraints. World building is, without exaggeration, masterful. From the in-game literature that fleshes out lore to the diversity of architecture, cultures, and factions within Cyrodiil, every corner of this world feels like it has a story to tell. Even side quests often reference major historical events or political tensions, grounding them in the larger narrative. One of the most impressive elements is how naturally quests unfold. You'll overhear a snippet of conversation while passing an NPC, and suddenly you're swept into a quest you never anticipated. That kind of organic quest generation adds to the immersion and longevity of the game. And while I do have more positive things to say about my initial impression, I think it's only fair that we also talk about some of the weaknesses. Despite the remaster, performance can be inconsistent. I noticed frame drops, particularly during weather transitions or densely populated areas, as well as during combat. All of that is noticeable and occasionally frustrating. Bethesda bugs, both hilarious and immersion breaking, remain a constant. NPCs walking into walls, physics glitches, and errant quest markers are part of the Bethesda DNA, and Oblivion Remastered is no exception. One of my personal favorite was this guy. Even when he's off the clock, he's still working. There he goes. Love that guy. Some legacy systems haven't aged gracefully. In my opinion, the persuasion minigame, which involves a rotating personality wheel, is a bit confusing. Similarly, the lock-picking mechanic is pretty frustrating, I'm not gonna lie. Dialogue, while improved in some areas, can still be stilted and overly expository. I may not know too much about the original Oblivion, but I know that it was infamous for some of its very clunky delivery.
I'm Rena Bruyant. I love dogs. Doesn't everyone?
What?
Characters often deliver lore in massive chunks with little natural pacing, which can disrupt the flow of gameplay and story immersion. There's also a lack of modern accessibility options, something that's increasingly expected in today's games. Customizable UI scaling, comprehensive key mapping, and more intuitive tutorials would go a long way for new players. I know that for myself, I thought that this was one of the previous Elder Scrolls games that expected you to figure out how to find locations without the use of the quest HUD. I tried to see if I could turn it off, really try to use my brain here to figure out where I'm going instead of watching that marker all the time. And to my knowledge, you can't turn it off. Now, I'm not saying I need everything customizable, but I think little things like that would have gone a long way. Despite these criticisms, Oblivion Remastered succeeds in delivering an expansive, deeply immersive experience that remains faithful to the spirit of the original, as far as I understand it, while adding just enough polish for a modern audience. It captures the magic of exploration and discovery, allowing players to shape their own journeys within a world that never stops offering surprises. The sheer freedom to abandon the main quest and carve out your own path, while not wholly unique to this game, is a testament to the strength of its design philosophy. And as I continue my journey, likely still procrastinating on saving the world, I'm eager to see what other bizarre, touching, or epic stories I'll encounter along the way. I know that a lot of people hold this game in real high regard, and while it was unfortunate to hear that the fan-made remaster of this is being overshadowed by this game kind of being shadow dropped out of nowhere, I still think that the fans of this series are going to be enjoying both versions when the fan version comes out anyway. And so whether you're revisiting the game as a returning fan or stepping into Cyrodiil for the first time like me, there's something undeniably compelling about this remastered adventure. Feel free to share your experiences in the comments, especially any must-see quests or any hidden gems I've missed, or if you thought that I was completely off base with something. I'd love to know your thoughts. Until next time, happy exploring, and may your spells hit harder than your bugs.
Stop right there, criminal scum! Nobody breaks the law on my watch! I'm confiscating your stolen goods. Now pay your fine, or it's off to jail. Then pay with your blood! Die, damn you! Should have paid the fine!